Hi everyone, Chelsea here with the Passion Yappers podcast. Just so excited to introduce our Omegaverse week, possibly 2 weeks with you because we have so much to cover. This episode serves as an introduction to the Omegaverse genre, overall analysis and themes to set up a basic understanding for the remainder of our podcast series. Spoiler warning, this podcast contains minimal spoilers for Whiskey and Sin by Emily Rath. This podcast serves more as an elevator pitch on why you should read books in the Omegaverse genre, and specifically why Whiskey and Sin is a wonderful introduction to the genre. Although there are mentions of other book series, there are no explicit spoilers throughout this episode. Content warning. This episode contains nuanced discussion of the Omegaverse genre and basic detail within the sexual hierarchy of this genre. There is no explicit sexual content or violence in this episode. We hope you have a great time diving in just as much as we did.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Christine. Hi, Nicole. It's so good to talk to you today.
Yeah.
So we are kicking off the week strong, talking about all things Omegaverse. And we're starting today at the very beginning with a definition.
Yeah,
Let's get into it.
Today we're going to talk about our first introduction to Omegaverse, because this is something that we're having a blast reading, but is kind of like newer to us. Like, I mean, this whole romance novel world is like a pretty recent revelation for us, a couple of years, but this is like something that we have just been thoroughly enjoying, and it's a little niche. So obviously a brand new podcast should go like very niche immediately. We have our friend Nicole here too.
I'm Nicole. I am an avid reader. I'm super passionate about it. I have had the pleasure of meeting these two lovely ladies on a reading retreat, and ever since then it's been incredible. And so now I'm here to talk to you about the Omegaverse, and I'm pretty excited about it. And romance is not a new genre for me, so it's really fun to kind of talk about something that has been a part of my life since probably before it should have been.
Oh, right?
Yeah.
I just recently was in Nicole's house, and she has an entire shelf of bodice rippers, like the 80s ones. And I saw those and I was just like, yes, this is an OG. She knows what she's talking about.
Yes, they're like double stacked. I was like, no, Chelsea, there's another row behind that.
So we know there are a lot of people out there who are experienced Omegaverse readers who know the genre inside and out. But for people who aren't, we're hoping that this serves as kind of like a bridge for you to like enter into this genre. Wikipedia, the source of truth, defines Omegaverse as subgenre of speculative erotic fiction. The genre supposes the existence of a dominance hierarchy among humans as similar to that associated in popular myth with wolves and other canids, that is composed of dominant alphas, neutral betas, and submissive omegas. So there's a lot of elements to Omegaverse. And it's kind of like vampire rules, right? Like every vampire novel, movie, story, whatever, has different, like slightly different variation of like the same rules, but the themes are all kind of there. So that's kind of how I see it. And our thesis statement for this series of episodes, because we've got a lot more Omegaverse talk where this came from, is that even if you never heard of Omegaverse before, right now, you probably like it. Because it's very much infused into like any popular romantasy. It's got some of these elements in it.
Let's play a little game. Yeah. If you like this, then you'll love Omegaverse.
It's really about trope, right? So if you like found family, you're gonna love Omegaverse. If you like any sort of dominant submission, even like BDSM, because there's always a layer of that, you're gonna like Omegaverse. You like the idea that there is a place for you to belong that is destined, and that those people will love you, and every single part of who you are, you will love the Omegaverse. For me, it's at the tenet of all romance, right? Like most romance is about finding a community or a person, or often more than one person, right? That loves you for who you are, all of your faults and all of your things, right? And that you don't have to necessarily change yourself, hence Omega, Beta, Alpha having different designation, right? Different qualities, different strengths, weaknesses, etc.
If you liked ACOTAR, you'll love Omegaverse.
If you like popular hockey romance, you'll probably like Omegaverse.
If you like anything Jasmine Moss has written, you will like the Omegaverse.
If you like the Unbroken Bond series by Jay Bree, you will love the Omegaverse.
If you like any like shifter romances, paranormal romances, like Bride and Mate by Ali Hazelwood, you would like Omegaverse. So yeah, a lot of the books that we just mentioned all have tropes that are kind of like distilled down and stated very clearly in an Omegaverse, because you do have like the world building and the rules. It lends themselves to a lot of these tropes. So like fated mates, like we talked about ACOTAR, and really anything with fated mates, like that's very Omegaverse.
Exactly.
Like a scent match, like, and you know, the pheromones and the instincts and the drive towards each other, that's like very, you know, very like ACOTAR style mating bond like vibes, right?
Reese's sensitive spots on his wings, you've got the sensitive gland spots on your neck, like it's everywhere.
Yes, all of, or even the idea that like they entered a mating frenzy, like once they accept the mating bond, and they like get these like really like deep instinctual drives that make them kind of crazy about each other.
Chapter 55.
Like, yes.
So even the mate when they're not the mate, right? This idea of like a fated mate who isn't your mate but is.
Yeah, and that's in a lot of like fae type fantasies. There's like the mate markings and stuff, even if it isn't like a actual like biologically driven mate bond, they will like, it'll be like a legend that is mimicked between couples.
It lends itself to platonic as well, or like friendship, right? So even if you look at Fourth Wing, when our dragons choose us, right? This idea that like there is a bond that is created between two characters, you could distill that back to Omegaverse.
And I'm just going through my head and I'm thinking, oh gosh, just so many books. Like the whole From Blood and Ash, Flesh and Fire series by Jennifer Armentrout is very Omegaverse coded in some ways, you know? Like it's obviously not an Omegaverse, but it is a paranormal dark romance. So, you know, romantasy.
Well, when we want to talk tropes, and you could say that this is just a standard romantic trope, but I would disagree with you. The idea of like one of the characters who never thought that they were special is often the character because of, I don't know, patriarchy and the world. Often she feels weak or not special, or she's not well treated, and then it actually turns out that she's pivotal. That like her strength's necessary.
Why was the first thing that I thought was Encanto? Just immediately started thinking about Encanto.
Well, it's sort of yes, because the idea often for the Omega is that like that person is sensitive or has like their like, soft skills, right? Like the Omega in their relationship is often like rocking soft skills. They are really good at keeping calm in heightened situations. They're really good at like taking care of the other people in their pack and like all of that. And that's literally what Encanto is, like Mirabelle.
Yeah, Mirabelle's like her special skill is that she is like the glue for the family. She is the thing that they all like kind of form around.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my god. If my best friend sees this, she's gonna kill me because her daughter loves Encanto.
This desire for what is essentially community at 4 is instilled into almost all of the media that we consume, right? That like at its core, in my personal opinion, Omegaverse is about finding community and finding people who love and value you for who you are. And it is the thing that all humans want, that we have wanted since the beginning of time, and that we will continue to want until the Earth crashes into the moon.
We have gotten more of an in-depth definition and conversation with Catherine Moon about the origins. I know, right? The origins of the Omegaverse. So we won't go into that as deeply, but I do think it's necessary to note the fact that this whole entire genre exists because it is fan-made. It is a fan-made fan fiction. This is the love product, the love child of super fans who have been obsessed with fated mates and found family and all of these tropes and have created that for themselves through this. And it is a place of diversity, inclusion, and it was created predominantly by queer people. And I think that is 100% something that we need to recognize. And I think that's also what's so beautiful about Omegaverse is in so many ways, it's so pure. It's so genuinely pure. And I love that.
The way I think of it is like distilled, like people on the internet took stories and characters and relationships that they already know and love and gave them this treatment of being distilled down to like the essence and the core of like what appeals to your like human spirit, and it just really spells it out. There are these things that are biological that make that just an undeniable part of the story.
And also, I think because, I don't want to say crowdsourced, but it kind of, right? It's crowdsourcing, right? Again, back to my OG delinquency of youth, having the internet connection in the family computer room, and throwback to how old I might be, and sort of no barriers, right? Like the ability to find this kind of thing on the internet, but the crowdsourcing of people to create something that then infuses into the mainstream because it's so pure. There was a moment that I remember where what used to be found only online started to show up in print, which was really cool. Especially because Omegaverse, for me at least, is separated kind of into two things, right? You have Omegaverse that comes from the mythology of werewolf and sort of all of those parts, but then there is another offshoot of Omegaverse where they're just human, and there is no werewolf kind of traits necessarily. They're purely human beings, but they exist in a world where even those humans have hierarchy. And so in some really interesting Omegaverse, you still have like dominant, beta, omega. Things like slick still show up, right? Like all of these like things that exist in the Omegaverse, which I hope that you give a definition to the humans.
Oh, we will be.
But that there is no werewolf existence, right? There is no mythology. The world just exists in that way. And so like that's really interesting too. It allows for writers, even in the mainstream or as they become, trad or indie publishing, however they become published, right? It allows them to then break the convention of what Omegaverse is and infuse the kind of pieces of Omegaverse into their writing. And then that is what takes it into even more.
Something that I like in a book, and I like this about Broken Bonds and Crescent City, is I was always a fantasy person, but then I realized that I really enjoyed like contemporary feeling stories a lot more. And it just was that I was gravitating towards fantasy and like romantasy because there are these tropes and like, I don't know, vibes that are present in those stories. And that's one of the things that I really like about Omegaverse style stories. It's like magical. It's like sci-fi magic, but it's very grounded. They have cell phones and they have to go to jobs and they have to ask HR for heat leave.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of being told that you're bad and a burden to people because you have your period and it's making you grumpy, right?
It's also just that we live in a society in which needs are equivalent to burden, when in actuality, I want to drive you to the airport, right? I want to babysit for you. I want you to call me and tell me you need something. I want to care for you, and I want to be cared for. And at its sort of purest kind of convention, it's this idea that like your needs can be met, and there's no kind of payback for that, right? Like you're in your heat, I will take care of you. In these books, it's often because like we have to take care of each other.
And I think because it's built in, it's like the expectation because they have this biological drive to do it. It's built in so nobody feels bad for needing it.
Existence requires care. And not only requires it, but deserves it.
The first Omegaverse I ever read was Whiskey and Sin, which is like going to be the book we end up talking about later today. But I remember I got to Whiskey and Sin by Emily Rath because I liked her hockey series and was like, oh yeah, what else has she written? And I remember being like, what's Omegaverse? Looking it up and being like, oh, it's that stuff that I've like definitely always been aware of. Another fun thing about Omegaverse is that because you have such a spelled out hierarchy, it is really fun when like you get a story that plays with that. It's very layered, right? Because Omegaverse plays with like gender and sexuality. Like if you're a match, you're a match. It doesn't matter what your gender is. It's like you're a match, and then you have these extended relationships like with multiple people, like a pack, and that all is very natural in this world. But then you get like another layer of that when you have a male Omega.
Cool.
Thanks for chatting with us, Nicole.
Thanks, right? Yeah. It's nice to see your faces. I hope
it's always good to see you. Make sure you tune in to our Moonwrath conversation and let us know what you think.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Have fun.
Bye.
Bye, girly.
So my first Omegaverse was Whiskey and Sin, and Chelsea, that was yours too, right?
It was, yeah. So I know that it is not an Omegaverse, but my first introduction to anything Omegaverse related was Bride by Ali Hazelwood, because I had never even heard of like the concept of like nodding or anything. And so it was really interesting to read that and then be like, okay, I actually am interested. I want to know more. I want to learn more. And then go into Whiskey and Sin. And I read that on the way to the retreat last year because I was reading through all of her books. I was trying to get through all of them before going to the retreat. And so that's actually one that I listened to on the way up to Vermont.
I think that I probably listened to Whiskey and Sin before I listened to Bride. I don't remember, but I do know that like I am the queen of my friends telling me they liked a book and me being like, that's just an Omegaverse. Just read an Omegaverse. And it's like Bride was one of them. Those were books that when my friends were liking them, like reading them as Mate came out, me being like, please, for the love of God, read an Omegaverse book. You'll love it. Not like gatekeeping Omegaverse or being like, this can be an Omegaverse, this can't. That's not the point of this conversation. The point is like, you like this. You're telling me you like it, and I just want you to have maximum joy in your life, so please do more, lean into it. For me, I think Whiskey and Sin is actually a really excellent starter Omegaverse, because I think that Dr. Emily brings superior world building to this story. A lot of showing us what it is and not telling us, because like vampires, if I tell you a book is going to be about vampires or a book is going to be about werewolves, you have an idea of what that's going to be already, because you are familiar with those types of stories and characters. Omegaverse is the same. Like all the stories have these like core elements, like kind of done their own way. But I think that the way Emily like just infuses it in the story without having to be like, and here's what an Omegaverse is, and here's what an alpha is, and here's what an Omega is, and here's what an Omega Center is, and here's, not just giving us a readout of it. She just takes for granted that we kind of know, but I didn't know. Like I vaguely knew, and I didn't feel like I missed a beat the first time I read this book. It really was, I really felt brought in.
She is so devious and so sneaky in the way that she can just bring you into a space, and it doesn't matter. Like, she can do it with any genre. It doesn't matter. Like, she's like, oh, I'll write a paranormal romance. Oh, I'll write a fantasy. Oh, I'll write an ancient Egypt book. I don't know what that is, but she's posted on her story.
Periodic reminder that this is first and foremost an Emily Rath fan. An Emily Rath fan podcast.
Getting to the point though is the fact that it's such a flex. Like she's just like, oh, I'm gonna write an Omegaverse and it's gonna be perfect, and we don't have to know anything about that, and we can just read it and be like, oh, what a gorgeous love story. And now I know a little bit more about the Omegaverse. I love that.
On my reread for this podcast, I did take a bunch of notes, and the whole thing, it's just like you're getting all the way up to the end, and we're just like dropping in the Omegaverse like concepts all the way into like you're like at the climax of the book, and you're still learning, you're still having these things be like perfectly integrated in a way where you understand what it means and what the implications are without being told to you directly like you're in a lecture about what an Omegaverse is. You're like, I don't know what that is, and I can't just read one. First of all, you do know what it is. We just spent a bunch of time with Nicole telling you that you already know what it is, because if you're here, it's because you like this kind of thing. And also, you don't have to sit through a little like PowerPoint presentation about what all these things are. You could just read this beautiful story and pick it up like as you go. And I think here's probably a good place for folks who haven't read the book, because it is like not mega popular, to pause this podcast. We're terrible podcasters, right? We're telling you not to listen, to pause and go read it and come back because
Yeah.
you'll love it. And
You'll love
have
it.
a good time. Spoilers from here on out for Whiskey and Sin by Dr. Emily Rath. I did read this book when it was available on Libby. I think I was probably waiting on a Jacksonville Rays book that had a hold, and read this one in between. Because romance is very light and fluffy, this book does have some like pretty dark themes, and I think that that's maybe an Omegaverse thing in general, because of the hierarchy and the desirability of like Omegas and the way it's exploitative, right? Like there's a lot of exploitation.
I was just about to say that word.
And it really sets up a world where there is a lot of like different plots that can happen. And so that's how this book opens, right? Like our main character is secretly an Omega. He's kind of masquerading as a beta, but he is being exploited for his Omega traits. And he escapes. And that's something that I remember about this book and that stuck with me the first time I read it. There are many moments in this book that made me go, ooh, this isn't like fun, you know?
Yeah. There's
like,
some hard stuff.
Yeah. Like we're doing romance and it's like happy, fun, like happily ever after stuff. There's like stuff that's like viscerally gross, you know, a lot of the smell stuff, because they're so into each other's scents and like finding somebody whose like scent you can tolerate. That's like one of Bear's character traits, is that he really has a hard time with like sensory stuff and sense of other alphas that aren't appealing to him, and like Silas feels that too, and so they're like describing the way that people smell. It's like really gross. It really sets up the characters. It's a way that like from the beginning the characters are set up to like be gravitating towards each other and like find each other being their special mates.
I realized you were talking about something really serious, but then I was just kind of cackling because I was like, I should insert the meme of like Edward smelling Bella for the first time.
But no, but it's true, right? Like like this is just like, you know, I drink every time we say that you already like Omegaverse, but like if you like Twilight, like these are things that are true in all of these books that are popular. Anyway, so another thing that like happens in Whiskey and Sin that I love is the moments where like their relationship is developing and they get in deeper and deeper and they start to acknowledge that they're each other's person, but it's like a little bit at a time, and it's again like a big show not tell. Like I think that's like probably my like best review of this book, is just like it is the perfect example of just showing us what these themes are and what is going on and not just spelling it out. And so it's like in their inner monologues it'll just be like they'll refer to the other one as like my alpha or like my omega, like, or my beta, without being like Bear felt weird, like why was he, you know, whatever. And it's like after they say that they like kind of interrogate it themselves, but it's just like you get really pulled in to like the build up, and the build up is so good, and
it's so romantic. And I was trying to remember what I had just come off of reading when I was reading Whiskey and Sin, and I realized that Emily had just finished her Pucking Strong tour. So I had just finished Pucking Strong and then went into Whiskey and Sin. And I think that's actually really cool because there are so many similarities in terms of just like the absolute romance and just like the beautiful, beautiful development of a story. There's obviously like many differences, but to see those two relationships in two different books develop on similar paths but also be entirely different, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's like the way the relationships grow, right? Like where they, you know, there is like this like immediate attraction, and in Omegaverse it's because they are, you know, a scent match or whatever, they are immediately drawn to each other. But then like the way that the love and the romance grows between them is, it really is like a great slow burn. And actually, like now that you're mentioning Pucking Strong, Dr. Emily was all over Instagram all the time being like, this is basically an Omegaverse, but we're just pretending it's not. I actually wrote down a ton of things from this book that I was just like, you know, because my mind's always just going hockey, 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 hockey. I wrote down that like in Pucking Strong, like Teddy like straight up nests. He just starts like, he's just like ordering things for the apartment. Like Silas says that in this book, he starts ordering things, and or like even just like down to like the dog in this book is named Zeus, and the dog and Pucking around is named Poseidon. One of the things that has been fun for me on my like romance journey is again like really spelled out and distilled in Omegaverse, which is like being chosen. And if you like follow it through, right, like sports romance, it's like when they like are into the idea that the girl like wears their jersey or something, or like the girl or the guy, like whatever, is wearing like the sports jersey, and they feel like possessive, but not in like a gross way. Like they just feel like that connection because they like see them wearing their clothes. Like that is like so Omegaverse coded. And for me, I really can see how the sports romance of it all connects back. This was just like a little light intro to Omegaverse and like our Omegaverse origin story, which is Whiskey and Sin. Read it if you haven't. It's incredible. Really does explain a lot of like the tropes and the themes and the devices that are in these books in a really great way, and it's a very action-packed story. It's very engaging.
It is, and it wraps up so nicely. It could be something that could be expanded into a full series, but the book is a standalone and it wraps up very, very succinctly. I loved it. Yeah, this entire episode was an elevator pitch. So
yes. So please do start your Omegaverse journey along with us. We've been having a blast reading these books. Dr. Emily recommended this book, Lola and the Millionaires. That is a book that Dr. Emily calls out as being one of her favorites. So we had the chance to have her on the next episode of this podcast alongside Catherine Moon, who wrote Lola and the Millionaires.
It's such a treat of an episode. I can't wait to share it with all of you.
Yeah, so we're getting that ready. We had a fun conversation with the two of them. So stay tuned for that. And then we're going to follow that up with some more shifter type romances that we've really enjoyed. So you can check out our Instagram for the episode schedule if you need to get some reading done so that you can have your homework done, so you can listen to our spoiler-filled podcast. Let us know how you like it.
Thanks for yapping with me, Christy.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. We hope you enjoyed this yap as much as we did. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram so you know when we will be talking about your faves. Please comment or send us a message or voice note about your thoughts on this episode, or share any of your favorite romances that you would like us to yap about.